I woke up in a cold sweat. My heart was pounding as if a gunshot had been fired nearby. There was a metallic taste in my throat. It was just a dream. I repeated it over and over again, convincing myself, but the fear did not go away. It seemed to have settled inside. In the kitchen, I turned on the TV to drown out the silence. The morning news. The reporter spoke emotionlessly, but I remembered his words forever. A man was found dead in his own apartment. Strange symbols and a date were found on his body. A face appeared on the screen. I did not know him. I had never met him, but it was the same man from my dream. The date on his chest was mine. I turned off the TV. I stood there for a few minutes, staring into space, and then slowly sat down on the floor. What the hell was going on? That night I fell asleep again and saw another person again. A woman. Her face was blurry, but her eyes were bright, like an owl's. She stood in the empty hallway and said to me, "You've already chosen. Now it's my turn." I woke up at 3:12. Exactly. I looked at my watch and wrote down the time. For some reason, it seemed important. The next morning, more news. A woman found in a doorway, dead, eyes gouged out. And again, a date. Not today's, tomorrow's. I began to be afraid to fall asleep. I dreamed of new people. They came to me one by one. They said different things, cried, begged, and then they just disappeared. And each time, the next morning, one of them died. The police were already investigating. Several bodies with identical wounds, with dates cut out, were found in different parts of the city. They did not know how to explain it. There were almost no clues, only mysterious coincidences. Officer Belov, who was leading the investigation, said on the news, "The killer is clearly acting according to a pre-planned plan. We are considering the possibility that it could be a cult or someone obsessed with numerical codes." I followed every word knowing they don't know anything, but I did because I saw them before they died. But the worst part began when I saw myself in a dream. I was standing in front of myself, tied up, sealed with tape, and I looked at me with a smirk and whispered, "They will find out soon. You will not save anyone. You have already started." I woke up in tears. I ran to the bathroom, looked at my reflection. It seemed alien. I barely recognized my own face, my eyes, as if there was someone else in them. That night I didn't dream of anyone, just emptiness. And in it, a white silhouette slowly approaching. It had no shape, just a voice. "Now you won't be the only one who dreams." And the next day it started. People started telling me that they saw me in their dreams, how I was walking towards them, how I was holding a knife, how I was whispering those very words. "I saw you in a dream, and now you will die." The police came to me. I became a suspect, but I had no alibi, no evidence, only dreams and dead people. And then it all ended because I saw myself in a dream again. But this time, I was in a coffin, and someone was hammering the lid down from above, and on my forehead was burned, the last date. Then silence, and only the sound of approaching footsteps. From the darkness, "He's coming." With each new dream, I felt my reality becoming more and more blurred. At first, I dreamed only of old people. They were afraid, but they could do nothing. I would come, as if in the shadows, and kill them when they called the police. Each time with this eerie feeling that I was not just a participant in these murders, I was the one who predicted them. But soon something changed. This time I did not dream of an old woman, but a man. He was sitting in a chair, writing something on an old letter when I entered the room. He was not afraid. He did not even try to scream. He just looked at me and said, "You got it all wrong. You are not the one who kills. You are the one who is already dead." I froze. The knife in my hands seemed to become heavy, and the fear that I always felt disappeared. There was a look in his eyes full of strength and despair, and I realized that he was not just my imagination. He was something more. And he knew me. He knew me better than I knew myself. When I woke up, I felt that something had changed. The room was strangely quiet. I went to the window and saw a man standing right under it. It was the man from the dream. His face was calm, but there was fire in his eyes. Then I realized I was not the only one who became part of this game. I was not just a participant in murders. I was part of something much more terrible. And this something began to look for me. I tried to call the police, but as soon as I dialed the number, all the lines began to crackle and distort. Instead of an answer, I heard the same voice from the dream. You know what will happen if they find out the truth. But I did not stop. I realized that if I did not stop now, if I did not reveal this horror, I would become another figure in this crazy game. I ran outside, the air thick with fear and anticipation. When I looked back, I realized I wasn't just being followed. They were out to catch me, but not like a common killer. My dreams had become reality, and reality was beginning to fall apart. All this time, the police had been searching for the killer, following my tracks. Crime scene investigators were studying crime scenes, trying to figure out how and why people were dying in different parts of the city with dates carved into their bodies. But they couldn't find the killer. There were no weapons, no witnesses, just footprints leading into the void. Every day, new reports appeared on TV screens where reporters struggled to explain what was happening. They called the killer the ghost with a date, and no one knew how to stop him. Suspects were followed, interrogated, all in vain. And I knew. They were close, but not close enough to find me. All the tracks led to me, but I was invisible. I wasn't the killer, but each murder happened after I'd seen these people in my dreams. And now I didn't know which one to kill first. They combed the streets, interrogated neighbors, called archives, looking for anything. A fingerprint, DNA, a piece of hair. But everything disappeared as soon as they got close to the truth. Even the CCTV cameras were blank, as if someone had cut out the necessary moments. As if the city itself had started hiding me. They surrounded the crime scenes, setting up surveillance. They even brought in psychologists, believing that the killer was acting on paranoia or disorder. One of the detectives, an experienced one, with a scarred face, looked into the camera and said, "This man doesn't just kill, it's like he has a premonition of who's next. He walks through other people's fears." I watched the interview and felt a chill creep up my spine. He was right. I sensed who would be killed next, and this feeling grew stronger. It became constant. I was afraid to sleep, but even more, to be awake. When I fell asleep, everything repeated itself in my dream. I stood in a dimly lit apartment, heard the creaking of an old man's voice through the door. Trembling fingers dialed 102. I went in, slowly, confidently. Grandma turned around and froze, and I cut, without emotion, without meaning, only the date, like a signature, like a ritual. And at each such moment, I heard a voice behind me, already familiar. "It's not you, but you are the key." The next day, the police found the body, everything according to the script, but this time they found something new. On the wall, scratched with a fingernail, was written, "He sees me in his dreams." This phrase threw the police into a stupor. They began to look for people associated with dreams. They began to suspect that the killer was not just a person, but something more. They first spoke of a subconscious trace, of a connection between murders and dreams. The first theories appeared. Some called it a curse, others, mass hypnosis. But I knew the truth. That night I saw myself again. Only now, not the killer, not the victim, but the investigator. I was sitting in the office, smoking and looking at the board with the photos of the victims. And a voice inside me. "This is the last game. They almost found you, but will they have time?" And then, a call. The detective picks up the phone and hears, "I saw you in a dream. Tomorrow you will die." And I wake up, in pitch darkness, alone, with a cold sweat and a premonition that this night will be the last. I had not slept for 3 days. My eyes stung, my hands trembled, my thoughts were confused. But as soon as I closed my eyelids, I heard them, the dead, those who came to me in a dream before death. They were no longer just shadows. Now they were looking straight at me. "You forgot who you are," said the woman with gouged out eyes. "But we remember." I woke up screaming, clutching my pillow so hard my nails broke. The next day the news exploded. The detective who had been in charge of the case had died. He died the same way the others had, with the date burned into his body. Only now they found something new next to the body, written in his blood on the wall. He is not a man. He is a dream. After that, the investigation fell apart. The department that had been working on the case was disbanded. Several employees were sent to mental hospitals. One shot himself. The case closed itself, or someone closed it. But that was not the end. That same night I fell asleep. I no longer tried to resist. I lay in the dark and waited. And he came. But not as a ghost, not as a voice, but as me. Exactly like a copy. He came to me, sat down next to me, and whispered, "These are not your dreams. I am the one sleeping. And you are just living inside." I wanted to scream, but my mouth wouldn't open. He raised his hand, and there was a knife in it. "Every dream must have an end," he said, "and the end is you." I woke up in a coffin, a real one, closed. I couldn't breathe. I was beating on the lid, screaming, but everything was muffled. Only the beating of my own heart and a voice sounding in my head. "It was your dream, and now it's their turn." A week later, a wave of mass nightmares began in the city. People began to see him, the same one, in a hood with a knife, with dates on his skin. They died every day. Children, old people, even police officers. And at each murder site, the same trace. "I saw you in a dream." And no one knows who he is, where he is, or if he is sleeping now. A week passed. The murders stopped. The news moved on to other topics. People began to forget. They said that it was one maniac, one psycho, one accident, just coincidences, just nightmares. But it was a lie. On the seventh day, a letter arrived at the police station. Not an ordinary one. The envelope was made of human skin, and the address was written in burnt letters. Inside, one sheet. On it, 50 names. Under each, a date. Future. The first, already tomorrow. And at the bottom, a signature. "I woke up. Now it's your turn." At first, they thought it was some sick joke, until the first person on the list fell out of a 12-story window. 2 days later, the second. He was found in his own car, with a wire around his neck and a date burned into his chest. All the deaths were like carbon copies of the previous murders. Then the police decided to follow one of the people on the list. Officer Thomas Leroy, 46 years old, strong, calm, had been through hot spots. They put him under 24-hour surveillance, cameras, security, alarm. Everything worked perfectly. But in the morning, he was found dead. The cameras recorded nothing, nothing. He simply disappeared at 3 in the morning. And at 3:06, his body was lying in the bathroom, stabbed with a knife. In his right hand was a mirror. On the mirror, he wrote his last. He was already here. Psychiatrists, forensic experts, techies. No one could explain how this was possible. No trace. Just one. A fingerprint. The same one found at all the crime scenes. Mine, even though I was dead. They opened the grave. The coffin was empty. And then the real madness began. 17 people had already died. The rest of the list hid, changed their names, left the country. But each of them claimed the same thing. "I see him. He comes in my dreams." And recently a new recording appeared. A camera in the apartment of one of the victims. A 21-year-old girl. The camera recorded how she gets up at night, goes to the mirror, looks into it, and whispers, "He's inside." Then, she takes a knife and cuts her throat. On the mirror, as before, is the date, and the signature, "You're next." This recording was posted in a closed forum for former investigators. After 24 hours, the forum was deleted, and all accounts were blocked. Some of the participants disappeared, but one of them left a voice message before he died. "He is not of this world. He does not come from dreams. We are his dream. And when he wakes up completely, we will all disappear." And now, attention. If you have read this far, you have already seen his face. And perhaps you think that this is just a story, just a fantasy. But remember, he comes only to those who know about him. He comes in dreams, and he is already on his way. Close your eyes and you will hear, I saw you in a dream, and now you will die.